45, I realized that I have been watching The Young and the Restless for 37 years. And I decided I wanted to calculate how many hours of my life I've devoted to this program. So that's 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year, because they don't take the summers off. So that's, oh no, so that's not a joke for you, that's just a joke on me. Has anyone recently been to the gynecologist? Somebody has. Somebody in this room has. I was there recently. And I have 2 kids, and so I go to the gynecologist sometimes, and it was really odd because the doctor did the exam, and then he says to me, Jenny, I need to speak to you about something. Which I must have looked worried, because he's like, oh no, it's not bad. It's just interesting. So he sat me down in his office and he says to me, Jenny, are you aware that you have an unbroken hymen? I was like, I have 2 kids. Someone put them in me and someone got them out. How does that? He's like, oh, it is hella stretched. But it is in fact intact. And I don't know what to do with this information about myself. Like, does this mean one of my kids is the second coming of Christ? Because they're both a bit of the devil right now. Have I had 2 virgin births? Have I been married? Do you think I can sell my virginity on the internet? Because I want to pay off my mortgage. It's a lot of money, but I think a 45-year-old virgin could get me quite a tiny sum. But I thought about it. And I think what I want to do is I want to call my high school boyfriend and say, guess what, Tom? We get to do it again for the first time. Because I don't know about you guys, but my first time was subpar. This time, we can take our jeans all the way off. We don't have to listen for my parents' garage door opening. The only problem is he is married, but his wife follows me on Instagram, so I think I have it in. So yeah, I have 2 kids. I'm not good with babies. I don't like them. They're not my thing. My first baby was incredibly difficult. He needed to be held constantly, and he cried all the time, and he was just always on me. And I had this friend come over in the first few weeks of his life, and she had a 6-year-old at the time, and she was really empathetic, and she's like, I know it's hard, and I'm like, my nipples are bleeding, and I don't remember my name, and she's like, I know, but it's gonna get better. My daughter's 6 now, and she's my best friend. And all I could think was, a 6-year-old best friend sounds worse. I'm much better at toddlers. Toddlers are where it's at for me, and I think that's because I was usually the sober friend at parties. And getting your toddler to leave the house is very similar to getting your drunk friends to leave a party. If you don't know what I'm talking about, allow me to demonstrate. Can you get your shoes? We gotta go. Where are your shoes? No, those are my shoes. Can you put your shoes on, please? We have to. What are you doing to your pants? What? Did you just pee yourself? Speaking of peeing yourself, I recently had a really bad cough. It was earlier in the year, and it was this cough that would go away. It wasn't COVID, but it was like some other horrible illness. And I just was coughing so much. And so I went to a walk-in clinic, and I said to the doctor, could you please write me like a thing where I get like 3 or 4 days off work. I just want to rest. I don't want to cough at work anymore. And she said, what is wrong with coughing at work? I was like, where the fuck have you been for the past 3 years? So I was like, well, okay, besides the obvious, I don't like wearing a washcloth in my pants every day. I would like to not do that anymore. And she said, well, rest isn't going to help you. Rest will not help you. I was so shocked to hear a doctor say that. Like, what does rest not help? Even a lasagna gets to rest before you eat it. She's like, rest will not help you. The only thing that's going to help you is if you do 15 minutes of Kegels a day. I was like, okay, if you don't know what Kegels are, I'm sure, sir, and apparently it tightens things up and you don't pee anymore when you cough. And she says to me, I need you to do this for 15 minutes a day. And I was like, where am I supposed to find 15 minutes a day? And she said, you're gonna have to multitask. So anyway, I went to work that afternoon, and as I stood in front of my colleagues giving a presentation with a washcloth and my underwear, multitasking, I thought to myself, is this what they mean by having it all? Tell me, how many of you were multitasking while I told that joke? How many of you are wearing high-waisted pants or high-waisted jeans? Yeah, and if we call them mom jeans? How many of you wearing them are actually moms? Is anyone not a mom and you're wearing mom jeans? Get the fuck out. Just go. Look, we call them mom jeans for a reason, okay? Do you think I'd be wearing my waist up by my nipples if I didn't have to? This is a complicated situation. I need them. Seriously, you haven't earned the right. If anything, you're wearing mom posture pants. I had a baby right at the beginning of the pandemic. So he was born in December, and then 3 months later, the world ended. And that meant that I had a pretty severe but undiagnosed case of postpartum depression. And I found myself one day driving around this beautiful city of ours looking for a bridge that I wanted to jump off. And luckily there's a lot of choice in the city of bridges. And I settled on the train bridge because it's very tall and beautiful, and the weir's there, and the pelican. I was like, iconic. That'll be an iconic day, you know? Perfect. So I actually parked the car, and I was like, I'm gonna see what it feels like. So spoiler alert, I didn't go through with it. This is the healing part for me, so it's okay to laugh. Okay, so I got out of the car, and I was like, started climbing up the stairs, and I don't know the last time you climbed the train bridge, but it is very tall. And I got out halfway up, and I was like, oh my God, that's a lot of stairs. What if I have a heart attack right here, and I just, that's not iconic. It's just really awful. What if I make it all the way up there, but then I collapse and I fall over the side, and then that's an accident? That's not what I want. So I was like, I guess I could go down the stairs and go home and eat right and exercise for 4 to 6 months, and then come back when I'm ready to just run up the stairs and leave over like a gazelle. But that seemed like a lot of work, so I just decided to live. There's no clapping for that. I don't know how you hope that would end today. To me, a cheer is really the only response. But no, I'm doing much better now. I drove home and I went to my husband and I was like, something's wrong. So I started taking Zoloft, which is an antidepressant, which is great. I'm happy to be on it, but I want to wean myself off because I'm pretty sure we're headed to the end of the world, and I don't want to spend the apocalypse running around looking for medication. You know, I want to devote my energy to the things that really matter, like canned goods, ammunition, and free Wi-Fi. I also do a lot of comedy, which I find helpful. Sharing your story, all that stuff. I do this one show once a month. It's really great. It's quite a small audience. There's just one guy, and I pay him to be there. And he's a psychologist, and the show is called Therapy. I also look to other people for guidance and advice. I want to model their behaviors. So I was out recently at this event, and I saw this woman, and she seemed like she really got her shit together. And I was like, "What's your secret? What do you do? Like, how are you so together?" And she said, "Well, I generally just look around the room and I do whatever the thinnest woman in the room is doing." And it's how I ended up with a pretty bad cocaine addiction. But it's okay because it makes my YouTube workouts go really fast. Very efficient. I I am striving towards this thing that youth are calling body positivity. Have you heard of this? Apparently, you just accept yourself for the way you are. You put on clothes and you leave the house, and you just feel good about yourself. It's hard. If you were raised, you'll know what I mean. If you were raised in the 80s and 90s with Kate Moss's sunken eyes looking at you, and Oprah Winfrey and her, yo-yo dieting, you get an eating disorder, and you get an eating disorder, and you get an eating disorder. It is very difficult to just accept it. So I'm trying. I really am. I think it's good. But the closest I can come to loving my body is kind of feeling about my body the way I felt about my mom when I was 15. Sort of like, I appreciate you, I value that you are life-giving. I do love you, but God, sometimes you are just so embarrassing. God, did you have to wear that? Oh, I wish I could have left you in the car. Happy Mother's Day. Part of my journey towards body positivity is I'm finally getting rid of all the clothes that I no longer fit. That closet, part of your closet that you're like, I just need one gastrointestinal illness and then it'll finally be okay. You're never gonna vomit that much, Jenny. So anyway, I took a bunch of my stuff to a consignment store. Has anyone done this recently? Or ever? Consignment store, yeah. If you want to feel good about yourself, don't go to a consignment store. I took my stuff in and I to the shop, and I handed the woman the bag, and she's like, yeah, I'll just go through it and I'll let you know what I want. If you don't know what it is, it's where they take your gently used items and then they give you money for them and then sell them on your behalf. It's basically a pawn shop for middle-class ladies. So I took my stuff in, and she's like, yeah, I'll just go through the bag and I'll let you know. So she's like, just look around the shop. So I'm looking around the shop and I'm flipping through, skirts and whatever, and look over, and she's not opening the bag. It's weird. So I'm flip through the shoes and look at, whatever, look at this jewelry, and she's still not looking at the bag. I was like, she's forgotten. I didn't hear. So I picked up this little scarf and I went up to the counter and I put it down and I said, I'll take this scarf, please. And then she says, that's $5. And I said, you can take that out of whatever you're gonna pay me for my clothes. And she says, oh, I'm not gonna take any of your clothes. No. And I said, but you didn't even open the bag. And she looked me up and down and she said, I didn't need to. But it's okay. I bought the scarf with my own money and then I left with more than I'd gone in with. I went back later and I strangled her to death with the scarf. It was arguably self-defense. And then I sold it later on Facebook Marketplace, so good luck finding that scarf. So I do have 2 kids. They complain I never take them anywhere, which is annoying. And I took them to the aquarium just last week. Granted, it was the Lobster Tank and Superstore, but we paused for a good 3 minutes before we pushed on to the dairy case. I have 2 kids. And they never get along. And they fight quite a lot, which is irritating to me because I only had the second one, so the first one would have a friend. But anyway, one day they were in one of the bedrooms and they were giggling and getting along really nicely, and I was like, what's going on? What are they doing in there that's making them so excited and happy? So my husband and I went and we put our ears against the door, and I don't know if they were in cahoots with the consignment ladies' kids, but they were plotting our death. They were planning our murder. And I have to say, it was really rewarding to listen to them collaborate on a project together. It's heartwarming. It makes me feel hopeful for the future. Not